What's up, Ravens fans? You guys have a lot of questions right now for our Ravens mailbag segment. Actually, some positive questions. It's a nice change of pace. I guess that's what happens when you win 38-6 over the Miami Dolphins. So let's jump right into the questions. The first question today is one of those positive questions, Ryan. It's from Aaron Burgess 13. And the question is this the spark the Ravens needed to make a playoff push? We're talking the P word around here now. And can we expect more of the same from Joe Flacco and company?
Yes, this is the kind of game that the Ravens needed. I think when we all looked at them earlier this season, you saw a very good defense, an excellent kicker, but the offense wasn't there. They needed the offense to play well. They didn't have to play as well as they did against the Dolphins necessarily, but the offense needed to hold up its end of the bargain, and it wasn't doing that for much of the season. Now that it's playing well, yes, I think the Ravens do have the look of a playoff team that can even make some waves if they get to the playoffs. That's still a little bit of a ways off. We have a quarter of the season left. The Ravens have a tough schedule, so it's not a shoo-in yet. It's hard to say the P word, right, or Festivus Maximus or any of that stuff.
You know, it's funny. We all talked at the beginning of the season about how it was going to come down to this final stretch.
Yeah.
Well, now we're in this final stretch, and the games that you said at the beginning of the season were going to end up being critical, they're critical games. Monday Night Football against the Patriots, Christmas Day against the Steelers.
But you're happy to see the Ravens playing their best football going into that stretch, and Joe Flacco specifically to the question. Yes, I do think that Joe can stay on a roll. We've seen him get hot during the playoff run and the Super Bowl run, obviously in 2012, but he's a quarterback that I think feeds off of confidence and trust. And he has a lot of trust, I think, in the offensive line in front of him and in his weapons right now. I think that can lead to a hot streak for Joe.
I like the idea of him throwing 4 touchdowns every single game.
Take that.
I'll be on board with that. All right, the next question deals with the Pro Bowl. And here's the question. It's from T. Greasy on Twitter. Which Ravens are shoo-ins for the Pro Bowl, and who's going to get snubbed? I'll give you some names here who I think are the shoo-ins.
Okay.
Justin Tucker and Marshall Yanda. I think both of them are going to be going. Now, there's a handful of guys who I think should be going. Terrell Suggs, Eric Weddle, Kyle Juszczyk, Brandon Williams.
I would say Eric Weddle's a shoo-in at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought he would be a shoo-in, but right now he's not leading the way in terms of safeties, in terms of the fan voting. Now, that's only a component of it, so he's not there right now. I think sometimes when you change teams, maybe that drops you back a little bit.
Come on, Ravens fans, let's go here.
You got to vote.
Get on the bandwagon.
This is actually a good segue to say you guys need to vote. Next Tuesday, fan voting closes, so you can vote on social media using the hashtag Pro Bowl Vote, and then send in the name of the player that you want to vote for. A couple others. I think Jimmy Smith is making a strong push.
Yeah.
You know, he's not necessarily, don't necessarily look at him on that level of the great corners in the league, but I think that he's playing at that level.
Did you say Kyle Juszczyk?
Juice, yes. He was on there.
Kyle
and Sam
Juszczyk.
Cook.
And Sam Cook, obviously. Who's going to be the snub?
That's the thing.
Who's the biggest snub?
The biggest snub? I think if Weddle doesn't go.
I think Suggs could be it. I mean, you look at Suggs, he's put up the stats, and I don't know if people are going to give him as much credit for doing what he is with the torn biceps. I think Ravens fans appreciate that a little more, and sometimes it's just the sexy sack numbers that go to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Our last question comes from John Clint01, and the question is, why doesn't Kenneth Dixon get most of the carries when he is just as powerful as Terrence West and more explosive? I like Kenneth Dixon a lot, so I'm not going to trounce on this question a lot at all. But I think Terrence West is even a little underappreciated by Ravens fans. Being a Baltimore guy, you would think they would love Terrence West, and he's run so well this year. I know that Kenneth Dixon has a lot of power. I'm not so sure that he's more powerful than Terrence West. I mean, in terms of bouncing off tacklers, getting extra yards, fighting for those extra yards, Terrence West is doing that really well. I would agree with the question that Kenneth Dixon probably has a little bit quicker feet, a little bit more elusive in space, but I think right now they're a good 1-2 punch. I don't see a reason to give one of them drastically more touches or carries than the other. I think a 50-50 split is about right for them.
Yeah, like you said, 2 good running backs. I mean, that's a good problem to have, especially late in the season. So the Ravens are going to stick with that as long as they can. So that's all the time that we have for today. But as always, thanks for watching. Send in those questions on social media. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.